to say hi? You just ran over here. Oh, okay. Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms here coming to you live from Mesa in Arizona. Whoops, I'm chopping my head off there. There we go. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling Shake It Up Saturday. And boy, did we have a Shake It Up Saturday today. So I told you this morning about the squirrels. You may hear her whining because she wants to go for her evening walk. We're running very late today. We got tied up with our genealogy, got engrossed in that. Which is really, really cool. I learned so much stuff today about a historic person today because it may tie into the family tree that I'm researching. So got to learn a lot about this particular historical figure and their contribution to stuff that was happening around the late 1800s. So it was very interesting reading. But also was doing the research on the genealogy. Have not started the research on do the two families connect yet because I'm still researching the 16 great grandparents. People go 16 great grandparents. Yeah, remember every person has two parents. They have a mother and they have a father, and you've got to account that mum and dad. There's four grandparents. Get four grandparents, which means you've got eight great grandparents. With eight great grandparents, you've got 16 great grandparents. So, well, hello, little one. You want to say hi? Look, you want to say hi? You say hello. She howled at me before. She actually let out, well, I'm not exactly sure what it was, but it sounded very much like a howl. So she was up on her bed, looking out the window. She suddenly gets excited, jumps off the bed, runs to the door. Her back end is shaking like crazy. And then whoever was supposed to be coming to the door that she thought was coming to the door didn't. So she goes and jumps back up on the front thing again. Then she runs back to the door. Then she lets out this cross between a bark and a howl that I have never heard before. I was on the phone with somebody on speakerphone and I'm like, what the heck? They had heard it as well. And then she comes over to me and goes, they didn't come to the door. So we've had very much of a shake up day. We have done things. Let's see, what did we do today? We did the genealogy things. I've been doing a lot of genealogy research, which has been awesome. Love learning new things and discovering connections and just finding things and finding people and doing the research. Do they really fit into the tree? And it's been interesting because with the historic figure, there is so much documentation out there about this person that I've even found inconsistencies when it comes to his grandparents or his great grandparents. I have found a couple of inconsistencies. So one set of documentation says this was his great grandparents, another set of documentation said this was his great grandparents, and there's not even similar names. And I'm like, okay, so do we actually have the right people? And then, of course, they had four names that were very common throughout the family. So you have to make sure that you're looking at the right person. So you've really got to look at the dates and you really got to make sure that you're aware. And because they had several people around the same age, they were actually living in different parts of the country. And so, which person is this one? And you knew that this person had moved over there, but they started off over here. So, and at one point they were all in a similar area before they spread out. And so which person within that same area are you actually looking at? So it makes things a little interesting. But yeah, so we did that. And then when I stopped for lunch today, got out my little mini griddle and my little mini waffle maker. I made some truffles in the waffle maker, which is basically an egg beaten up with half a cup of cheese, and then you make a waffle out of it. Really, really yummy. And in the griddle one, I was doing eggs. So you just break an egg open. I scramble an egg, pour it into the little griddle thing, and just let it cook. And Seffi got some of that today, so she was very happy. She got a scrambled egg for kind of makes like a mini omelette. And so I would cook one, then go cook, and those only take a minute and a half to cook, whereas the truffles take about 5 minutes to do. So I was doing different things with those, but because of the time in between, what can I do? So I threw my speaker on. I have my Bluetooth speaker here that I put on because it's got the better sound. Still not the great stereo sound. Gotta have that bass going. And I put on went to my 80s playlist and, oh, hey, sweetie girl. Went to my 80s playlist and put it on shuffle and it picked all the dance songs, no quiet songs. I was singing along at the top of my lungs. I was dancing up and down the RV. The timers would go off. I'll go flip out the switch out the food as I was supposed to, get it all reset again, put the timers back on, and go carry on dancing through the whole thing. So because I was making up a whole bunch of stuff, so that I could then have stuff I could put on the refrigerator and have it later for dinner as well. So I don't have to make dinner. I just need to take it out, reheat it, and I'm good to go. Or just eat it cold, which I might end up doing anyway because I like eating stuff cold as well. So the whole hour that I was doing getting the lunch ready and that, we're dancing up and down the RV, and Zeffy is just laying there like, what are you doing? And I was trying to engage her, and I said, you want to come dance? And she just got up and ran away. Like, yep, no, I'm not having any part of that. So what did you do today to shake up your Saturday? What did you do that you don't normally do? We try to dance as often as possible, but we haven't done it much this week, as much as we normally do. We did not go and sit outside today. We had to pull the awning in because it got really, really windy out there. They said there was a 40% chance of rain, and haven't seen any come through yet. Haven't heard anything on the roof, heard nothing. But it's been in the 70s today, so it's been nice, but we still had to have the AC on in here because it got really hot in here today. Yet it was only 76 outside, so, but tonight it gets down into the 50s for overnight temperature, and then tomorrow it's going to be in the 60s. You excited a bit? Look at this face. This is Zeffy's excited face. You excited about the cooler temperatures? This is how she sits when I eat. So if I'm sitting here eating, and I eat left-handed, so she will sit there and look down at my plate, and the second I turn my head and look at her, she will move her head and look straight ahead, like I'm not looking at your plate. And then as I bring the fork up, her nose will literally be about an inch from the food as she's sniffing it as it goes into my mouth. It is hilarious with her and all sorts of different things. But she did get an egg today to eat, so she was very happy about that. But so what did you do to shake up your Saturday today? Did you get up and dance? Did you go for a walk? Did you go for a run? Did you go for a drive to new places? Did you go explore new things? We are about to head out to do our evening stroll. You going to go for an evening stroll tonight? Yeah? Oh, you got kisses? Oh, so sweet. Yeah. So going to take this one for an evening walk. Oh, she actually got a visitor. It was hilarious. The guy from across the road came over, and we had at the time we had the screen door open before the wind started. Had the screen door open, and the door was pinned back, and he comes up to the door. She goes berserk because every time she sees him, she expects him to have treats for her. So she goes nuts, and she's trying to get to him. He looks at her and he goes, "Oh, I'm not here to see you. I'm here to see your mistress." He had a question for me, so we got that sorted out. And so I'm standing there just giving her scratches and stuff, and then he walks away, and then he comes back and opens up the little flap that we've got there and puts his fingers through there with a little treat there for her. And so she gets her treat and she's happy. But it was just her reaction, the fact that he walked away, and she just started crying because she didn't get a treat from him. Oh my gosh, she is hilarious. It only takes her one time with one person, and every time she sees that person, she expects a treat every time. One time with the mail truck, and now every time she sees the mail truck, she expects a treat. It took one. So, smart cookie, this one. But anyway, we're off to have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and then we're going to shut down the genealogy research for today because we have spent a lot of hours researching and having so much fun. And again, that whole name thing, when one family starts using a name consistently, like for example, I have a mother and a father who have named two of their children. So the father has a junior. He's become a senior. His son, of course, has the exact same name as him. The mother did the same thing with one of their daughters. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So again, when you're looking at things like directories, and they've got all the people named, you've got to figure out, okay, who's the parents, who's the son and daughter, we've got these two names living at the same address. Is that the son and daughter that is living with or is it the parents, or is it the father living there and the daughter's moved in, or what's the story? So there's all sorts of things that go on like that. So checking, double checking, triple checking, researching, going and looking at finding other records that can help back up what you've seen so you know who you're talking about. So there's a lot of stuff with the little green leaves coming up where I don't just go through and choose the leaves. And like I did this with one of the things where everybody, there was a group of people that had the same first name, and you knew they were all part of the same family, but they were spread out into different areas, and they all started in one area, and then they spread out from there. But it's like who went where, how, and at what point did they go where and how, and who's the one that ended up over here that is the grandfather or the great grandfather, or in this case, the great great grandfather. Who is the great great grandfather that ended up over here? Because he's got cousins over here and over here and over here that all started in the same area. So which is the one from that one area that came over here? And so then you got to go find the parent's name. And of course, I've found the parent's name, and then when I'm looking somewhere else, it says the parent's names are different. So I'm like, when you look at the actual death certificate of the person or the obituary, it says something different to what other official documents state. Like I've come across documents for that trace back for Sons of the American Revolution or Daughters of the American Revolution. They actually have the family trees printed online, or the applications. And so tracing it back, it's like, okay, well, that's the right person there. I know that that's the right one with that name because that's their parents there, but they got a different, the guy now has different parents there, yet you can find other documents that have different names on them. So it's like, which ones are correct? It's all part of the search. It's all part of the fun. So now we're just going to go find other supporting documents that will have it all listed. And of course, we're back in the early 1800s. So the documents they had back then aren't as full of information as documents that we had later on, where like on a marriage certificate, they would have the names of the parents on there and what the parents did. Most of that time, you're not finding out till you get to the death certificate, and some death certificates didn't carry it, may have just had the father on there but not the mother, which is really struggling because yes, we already know what the father's name is. We're trying to figure out who his wife is. Was she a second wife or a third wife? Because there was a lot of times when one spouse would pass away and then that person would get remarried either the same year or the following year. And so you go, okay, well, who had children? Who took children with them? How many children did that couple have? That they're now part of this family over here, and those kids are now being included on the census. So who is this, who are these people with all this strange last name? And then you find out that's what the wife's married name was before she married the guy she's now married to. So there's all this there's a lot of remarriages going on in the early and mid 1800s. A lot of remarriages. In fact, the whole 1800s seems to be that way, where somebody dies and their spouse will remarry within a year. And of course, now you've got to figure out who their children are, and because you get some people who see a census report, and because it's all got the same last name, what they don't realize is that maybe the first 4 or 5 kids on there were actually their nieces and nephews, because the wife may have been married to the brother, and now the brother's married the wife because his brother died, so now he's taking over responsibility of the family. So there's all that sort of stuff that goes on as well. But and of course, back then in the early 1800s, it wasn't until some of the federal censuses around 1860, depending which state you were in, that they didn't start putting the relationships of the people that were on the census. You could see their names listed. Well, of course, up until 1840, it was numbers. How many people did you have in your household that were, here is the head of the household. How many people did you have males in this age group, females in this age group, all the way across type of thing. And then they got to the census where they started listing everybody's names, but they didn't list the relationships. And they get to the census where they do start listing the relationships. But some states hadn't started that at that point, so it makes it very fun. I love this stuff. I love it. But I'm going to go clear the mind, go for a walk, clear the mind, have dinner, have a nice relaxing evening. And I know tomorrow's Serenity Sunday, but I just may pick it up and go all over again. Who knows? But anyway, my dog's now sitting by the door saying, I want to go. So have a super fantastic, sparkling rest of your Shake Up Saturday. Let us know in the comments below what you did to shake up your day. And we will catch you tomorrow for Serenity Sunday. Ekonera.